I found out my girlfriend had another family because I was trying to book a restaurant. Not snooping. Not suspecting. Just scrolling, late at night, half bored, half excited in that quiet way you get after 10 years together, when surprises feel rarer but more important. She was in another city again, work trip, same city as always, and I thought I'd fly out, pick her up, pretend we were still spontaneous people. I opened Google Maps, zoomed into downtown, and saved a place that looked right. Warm lights, small tables, the kind of restaurant where you don't rush. Then I clicked the Instagram tag. That's where people tell the truth without meaning to. I scrolled past plates and cocktails, past strangers smiling into their phones. And then I saw her. Not in the background. Not half cut off. She was centered in the frame, relaxed, familiar, wearing the same gold hoops she wore at home. She was leaning toward a man sitting beside her, close enough that his arm rested behind her without asking permission. Between them sat a girl. A child, maybe 12. Dark hair. Wide smile. Her hands were wrapped around a dessert plate like it mattered. The girl was laughing, and my girlfriend was looking at her, not like someone being polite, not like an aunt or a family friend, but with that private, unguarded expression people only have when they forget they're being seen. The photo was tagged at the exact restaurant I had just saved. For a second, my brain tried to help me. It started throwing out explanations before I even asked for them. Coworker, client, old friend, family friend, some kind of team dinner. A coincidence so boring it wouldn't be worth remembering. Then I read the caption. Favorite night with my favorite people. I checked the comments. You three look so happy. She's grown up so fast. Love seeing you together again. Again. I zoomed in on the girl's shirt. Glittery letters, the kind kids wear without irony. Dad's favorite place. My stomach dropped, but my hand stayed steady. That part surprised me later. I tapped the man's face. His name appeared under the photo. Mark Dalton. I didn't know a Mark Dalton. I clicked his profile. It wasn't private. No burner account. No secrecy. Just a normal guy. Normal job. Normal bio. A line about being a girl dad. His grid was full of photos of the same girl, birthdays, school events, vacations. And threaded through all of them, casually, repeatedly, was my girlfriend. At the beach. In a kitchen. On a couch. At a Christmas tree lot. Not visiting. Living. I checked the dates. Recent. Not years ago. Not before me. Now! I sat back and felt the room go quiet in a way that had nothing to do with sound. Still, I told myself I might be wrong. People look close in photos. Families blend. Instagram lies. So I kept going. I opened the tagged section of his profile. That's where people forget to cure it. There was a photo of the girl holding a sign on her first day of middle school. Behind her were balloons and a familiar suitcase, the same hard-shell one sitting in my closet, scuffed on the corner. The caption read, "Welcome home, Mom." I stared at the word Mom longer than I should have. I didn't cry. I didn't swear. I didn't even stand up. I just looked around my living room, the couch we picked together, the framed photos, the house I owned, and felt something precise settle into place. This wasn't an affair. This wasn't a mistake. This was a life. And whatever that life was, I was clearly not standing at the center of it. Block 2. How serious is this? The photo could still be explained away. That's what I told myself the next morning, standing in the kitchen with a cup of coffee going cold in my hand. People pose. People lie online. People play families for pictures. I had seen worse explanations survive. So I didn't panic. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I needed something that didn't come from a screen. Something physical. Something that existed whether I believed it or not. I went into the bedroom and opened the closet. Her suitcase was on the top shelf, the one she always used for work trips. Same routine every time. Same bag. I pulled it down, set it on the bed, and opened it like I was just checking if she'd forgotten something. It smelled like her shampoo. Inside, everything was neat. Packing cubes, folded clothes, a small pouch with chargers and adapters, vitamins in a plastic case labeled by day. Nothing suspicious. Nothing dramatic. Then I checked the side pocket. Behind an old boarding pass, folded carefully, was a piece of thick paper. Not an invoice. Not a receipt. A card. I opened it slowly. The front was made of construction paper, unevenly cut. Glitter glue had dried into hard little ridges. In big, shaky handwriting it said, "To Mommy." That word landed heavier than anything I had seen online. Inside was a drawing. 3 stick figures holding hands. A woman with long hair. A man. A smaller figure between them. Above their heads, written in crooked letters, "I love our family." I sat down on the edge of the bed without realizing it. Below the drawing was a message written more carefully, like the kid had tried harder this time. "Thank you for coming home. I miss you when you're gone." At the bottom was a name. Sophie. I read it twice, like maybe it would change. It didn't. That card hadn't been posted for likes. It hadn't been filtered or staged. It hadn't been written for anyone except her. I put it back in the suitcase exactly where I found it, and closed the zipper. Then I opened the nightstand drawer. Nothing special. Lip balm. Old receipts. A watch she never wore. Underneath everything, wrapped in a small piece of cloth, was a key. Not a hotel key. Not a gym key. A real one. Metal. Slightly worn. The kind you use every day. I turned it over in my fingers and felt that quiet, sinking certainty again. You don't carry a house key unless you have somewhere you belong. I took a photo of it and put it back. Still, some stupid, stubborn part of me wanted to be wrong. So I checked Facebook. I hadn't used it much in years, but she still had an account. I searched her name. Her profile came up. Private, but the basic information was visible. Under Family and Relationships, there was a name. Mark Dalton. Relationship status, married. No ambiguity. No, it's complicated. No hidden setting. Married. I stared at that word longer than I had stared at the card. This wasn't a secret that slipped through cracks. This was a fact she'd lived with openly, just not with me. I clicked his profile from there. Same man. Same photos. Same life I'd already seen. Mutual friends appeared. Dozens of them. People from that city. Teachers. Neighbors. parents of other kids, people who had watched her live as a wife and mother for years. I closed the laptop and sat in the silence. That was the moment the scale of it became impossible to ignore. This wasn't flirting. This wasn't a double life built on impulse. This wasn't something that got out of hand. There were keys, cards, public records, a child who missed her when she was gone. This was infrastructure. I didn't feel heartbroken yet. What I felt was something colder and more clarifying. If this was real, and it was, then the question wasn't if she was lying. The question was how long. I didn't need more proof. I needed duration. Because there's a difference between discovering a betrayal and discovering that your entire relationship has been living inside someone else's margins. Time is what decides which one it is. I opened my calendar. Not hers. Mine. The one I'd been using for years. Trips. Birthdays. Anniversaries. Random notes like, late meeting, or, she's out of town again. I scrolled back month by month, the way you do when you're trying to remember when something started hurting. 2 weeks here. 2 weeks gone. Sometimes 10 days. Sometimes almost 3 weeks. At the time, it felt normal. Her job required travel. That was the story. That was always the story. Now it looked like a rotation. I opened her flight confirmations in my email. She used to forward them to me, just in case. I'd never thought twice about it. I lined the dates up against the photos I'd saved from Mark's profile. The overlap wasn't messy. It was clean. When she was gone, she was there. When she was here, she wasn't there. No gaps. No overlaps. No chaos. That's when I noticed something else. The girl. Sophie. I went back to her photos and stopped looking at my girlfriend. I focused only on the kid. Her face. Her height. Her school signs. There was a photo from her first year of middle school. Another from a 5th grade graduation. Another from a 10th birthday cake. I did the math slowly, even though my brain already knew the answer. She was 12, which meant she'd been 2 when I met her mother. 2 years old. I remembered that phase of our relationship clearly. We were new, but not new. Past the awkwardness. Past the pretending. The time when people usually start telling you the truth about their lives. She told me she dated someone seriously before me. That it hadn't worked out. That there were complications. I never pushed. I didn't think I needed to. I stared at the screen and felt something shift, not collapse, but reframe. She hadn't built this second life after me. She'd brought me into it. Carefully. Deliberately. With boundaries already drawn. For a moment, just one, I tried to give myself an out. Maybe the kid wasn't hers. Maybe she was a stepmother. Maybe the photos were misleading. Maybe I'd misunderstood something basic. That thought lasted about 5 seconds. Because the card said mommy? Because the sign said welcome home? Because the travel schedule matched too perfectly? Still, I went looking for work. I opened her laptop and clicked into her work folders. The ones she said were confidential. Sensitive. The reason she couldn't talk much about her trips. They were empty. Not locked. Not encrypted. Empty. No presentations. No reports. No drafts. No notes. Nothing that justified 2 weeks a month in another city for nearly a decade. That silence was louder than any message I could have read. I leaned back and let that settle. Then I went back to the beginning. Our first year together. I pulled photos from my own phone. Trips we'd taken. Holidays. Smiling selfies from a time when everything felt light. And I noticed something I'd never questioned before. There were no photos of us during certain months. Entire stretches missing. At the time, I'd assumed we were just busy, living life instead of documenting it. Now I saw the pattern. Those were the months Sophie had birthdays, school events, holidays that belonged to someone else. She hadn't been busy. She'd been somewhere she couldn't bring me. I checked one last thing. Her old messages to me during those trips. Not the content, just the timing. Short replies, delayed responses, long gaps explained by meetings or time zones. They weren't random. They lined up perfectly with the kid's bedtime. That's when the answer finally stopped being abstract. This wasn't recent. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't something that got out of control. This had been happening for the entirety of our relationship. 10 years. I closed the laptop and sat there, letting the number exist without trying to soften it. 10 years of shared routines. 10 years of plans. 10 years of believing I was building something exclusive. And somewhere else, parallel to that, 10 years of a completely different life. One that didn't include me at all. Up to that point, part of me still wanted to believe this had grown on its own. That it started small. That it spiraled. That at some moment she'd lost control, and just kept lying because stopping felt impossible. That idea died the moment I looked at her browser history. Not messages. Not chats. Just searches. The things people ask the internet when they think no one's watching. Best middle schools near me. After-school programs for kids. Dance classes for preteens. School district boundaries. All from that city. Recent. I sat there, scrolling through months of it, feeling something hollow out inside my chest. These weren't late-night panic searches. They were practical. Calm. Repeated. The kind you do when you're planning, not reacting. I checked dates. Many of them lined up with weeks she was supposedly with me, sitting on our couch, talking about how exhausting her job was, and how much she couldn't wait for things to slow down so we could finally start a family. She already had one. She was just optimizing it. I went deeper. Her cloud storage had shared folders I'd never opened. Inside were albums labeled by year. Inside those were subfolders with names like school, holidays, summer. I clicked one. Family photos. Not posed. Not special occasion photos. The boring ones. Grocery store trips. Living room messes. Random afternoons. Those are the ones you don't fake. She was in almost all of them. Cooking. Helping with homework. Sitting on the floor next to Sophie while Mark stood in the doorway taking the picture. And the worst part wasn't that she looked happy. It was that she looked normal. Comfortable in a role she'd never mentioned to me once. I kept scrolling until I hit something small that stopped me completely. A coffee mug. The same mug we had at home. White ceramic. Slight chip near the handle. A stupid slogan printed on it that she always joked about. I zoomed in. It was identical. Not similar. Not same brand. The same. I remembered buying 2 of them years ago because she liked symmetry. One for her. One for me. Apparently, one for each house. I closed the album and stood up, suddenly needing to move. I walked through my kitchen, touching things I'd never questioned before. Her habits started lining up in a way that made my skin crawl. The way she folded towels. The way she always insisted on the same side of the bed. The phrases she used when she was tired. I'd heard them in Mark's comment sections too. Same jokes. Same expressions. Same small rituals. She wasn't switching personalities. She was duplicating herself. That's when I understood something important. This wasn't a woman torn between 2 lives. This was a woman managing 2 lives. With calendars. With routines. With emotional efficiency. She didn't forget. She didn't slip. She didn't, accidentally, post something. She curated. Even the lies were consistent. I thought back to all the times she'd said things like, "I just need stability right now," or "I can't handle big changes yet," or "let's wait a little longer." Those weren't delays. Those were boundaries. She wasn't afraid of commitment. She was already committed. Just not to me. I sat back down and finally allowed myself one clear thought that didn't need evidence anymore. This wasn't an affair that lasted 10 years. This was a structure. And I had been a deliberate part of it. Once intent became clear, everything else simplified. There was no dramatic question left to answer. No confrontation to rehearse. No speech to prepare. When you finally understand your role in a story, you don't argue with it. You exit the scene correctly. This wasn't a betrayal in the usual sense. Betrayal implies a contract that was broken. What I had walked into 10 years ago wasn't a shared future. It was a vacancy. I wasn't her partner who got cheated on. I was the man she stayed with when she wasn't home. That realization didn't hurt the way people expect it to. It didn't come with shouting or shaking hands. It came with distance. The kind of distance you feel when you finally step back and see the whole structure instead of the single room you've been living in. I didn't hate her. Hate would have meant she mattered in the way she used to. What I felt was something closer to clarity. So I stopped searching. I stopped digging for new angles or hidden meanings. There was nothing left to uncover. I already knew enough to act without guessing. I started packing. Not violently. Not in a rush. I folded her clothes the way she liked them folded. Shoes wrapped separately. Jewelry placed in small bags. I packed everything that belonged to her, including things I had bought, because ownership stops being relevant once trust is gone. Then I gathered the evidence. Not to threaten her. Not to negotiate. To finish the story cleanly. The screenshots. The photos. The medical bills. The cards from Sophie. The Facebook page that said, "Married." I printed everything and placed it into a thick folder. No notes. No explanations. I didn't want her to hear my voice in this. I wanted her to hear reality. Then I added our photos. 10 years of them. Trips. Holidays. Smiling versions of myself who thought he was building something exclusive. I didn't tear them up or throw them away. I stacked them carefully and put them in the box. That life deserved a proper ending. I found the address through one of the bills. Verified it. Cross-checked it. A quiet street in that other city. A real home. Her real home. I hired a courier service. Neutral. Professional. No questions. The morning before she was supposed to come back, they loaded the boxes into the truck. I watched from the driveway as 10 years of my life left in cardboard form. When the truck pulled away, I went back inside and changed the locks. New keys. New codes. No ceremony. That evening my phone buzzed. Flight tomorrow morning. Can you pick me up? I stared at the message for a long time, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't need to say anything. I replied with one word. No. Then I blocked her number. Email. Social media. Everything. I slept that night. Not well, but honestly. Weeks passed. Life didn't magically improve. It stabilized, which felt like improvement after 10 years of living inside a lie. I repainted the bedroom, got rid of furniture we picked together, changed routines, built new ones. Quietly, methodically. I didn't check her accounts. I didn't need to. Eventually, the truth reached me anyway. It always does. Mark left her. Apparently, when he opened that folder, his world collapsed the same way mine had. He hadn't known about me any more than I'd known about him. He thought he was the only one. 2 men. 2 homes. 1 woman. 1 carefully managed schedule. I don't hate him. I never did. If anything, I hope he doesn't hate me either. We weren't enemies. We were just 2 men who believed the same person when she told us we were special. I think about Sophie sometimes. Not with guilt. Just with hope. I hope she grows up surrounded by honesty, even if it comes late. As for the woman we both trusted, I don't wait for karma. Life already took care of the symmetry. I don't feel anger anymore. Anger needs an opponent. What I feel now is space. And space is enough to start again. If this story stayed with you, you're welcome to subscribe. More stories like this are coming.